Thank you for joining us on Adobe Live. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe to our new Adobe Live channel on YouTube so you can stay up to date with the latest streams, be in touch with the Adobe Live community, and so much more. I'm your host, Pixie Pugh, and I'm joined by the amazing video magician,
Wow.
James Bonanno. James, how are you doing today?
Oh, much better now with that intro. That's the video magician. I feel like I have a lot to live up to on today's stream with those words. But yes, thank you, Ray, for that beautiful introduction.
My pleasure. Before we get started, though, for anybody that's in the chat, we are able to see both the YouTube chat and the Behance chat. So if you have any questions for James, please pop them down below. I will feed them back to him. Let's take a quick gander. Hello, Annika, Gareth, Uma, Penny. How are you lot doing today? I hope you're doing wonderful. I hope you're ready to learn. Put your wizard cap on. This is the Magician Hour. Magician Hour. Speaking of, let's take it away. James, for those that are new, can you please tell them a little bit about yourself, show us some of your tings, and then also tell us what you're going to be doing today.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Ray, for that wonderful introduction. And hello, everyone. It's nice to be on the guest side of things for a bit of a change. So just as a little run through of who I am, if you're not familiar, I am apparently a video magician. So again, I will keep that title throughout my career. But I've been a filmmaker, photographer, video creator, editor for the better part of 15 plus years now. And just kind of, you can find my work in a number of different ways. I do have a Behance page, which if you are watching here on Behance, make sure to come, give some of those projects a thumbs up, connect with me on there. I have a lot of different projects, some of my film work, some of my office work, which we're going to be getting into today. So you'll see a lot more of what's behind me here. So here's my Behance. My wife and I, Anna, who is also on Adobe Live quite frequently, run a company called Leave the Map. So that's really where you'll be able to find most of our work. It is sort of all travel focused, travel related. So this is our van. We've lived on and off in a van for the better part of the last 3 years. And our mission is always to travel with a purpose and explore the unknown, get out of our comfort zone. And it's something that we really try to educate others as well. So on here on Adobe Live, we're not just educating you on creating video, but also, traveling as well and some of those tips and tricks. So our site is sort of a work in progress. It's under a little bit of construction, but head over there to say hello. And then we have a YouTube channel as well that we continue to add work to. My most recent upload, you're going to see a little bit of today, which was from an office tour that I did here, and sort of how to design a space that feels good to you. So that's a mouthful, Ray. I know that's kind of a lot of who I am, what I do.
No, that's really exciting because this kind of stuff, for someone like me who's not done anything like that, it's kind of enlightening. And then you realize how much more there is that one can jump into. So that's incredible. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's my pleasure. I really love creating videos. It's my passion. And creating a story around it in a way that we can teach others how to do the same. So I guess with that being said, Ray, is there anything else that you wanted to intro, or do you want me to sort of hop into what we're going to be doing over the next hour and a half?
Well, I would love for you to hop into what we're going to be doing. You're using After Effects and Premiere Pro, right?
Correct. Yeah. So most of the time when I'm on these streams, we're primarily working in Premiere. I would say Premiere Pro is kind of my bread and butter, and After Effects is the side dish of I don't know, very bad metaphor.
No, we're giving the food.
yeah. We'll just stick with the food theme. So I am proficient in After Effects, but again, like I mentioned to you, Ray, I know you're an After Effects gal yourself. So if you have things that you want to step in as I'm going through it today, please feel free to do that. And again, if you're in the chat watching and you have tips and tricks in After Effects that I'm not hitting on today, please let me know. But basically, to get things started, today is going to be all about motion graphics and MOGRTs specifically. So a MOGRT as a very base level to start for anyone who's sort of new to Premiere and new to After Effects. A MOGRT is a motion graphics template that's created either inside of Premiere Pro or done in After Effects and then exported as a template. And so if you are actually I'm going to just move us over here on the screen so I can work inside of Premiere Pro. And if you're just creating a project file for the very first time, you have all of these workspaces. So you have the editing workspace, which is, primarily where I work out of, but you can move into captions and graphics. You can move into all these different verticals here. I like to just stay in here, and you're going to click on the essential graphics panel up here on the left-hand side. And you'll notice that without doing anything, there's already these pre-made presets that are already, they already exist inside of Premiere Pro. So without touching anything, you can create really nice lower thirds for your videos. You can see that there's a couple things in here that I've purchased from other creators that are, MOGRTs that they've created, some that I've created on my own. A lot of these titles down here are motion graphic templates that were already built into Premiere Pro. So yeah, very, very cool. There's a lot of power in what exists here without having to touch anything. But today we are going to not only start with some of the basics and the rudimentary, essentials of these MOGRTs, but we're actually going to be popping over into After Effects shortly to make some custom graphics, to actually create them, show you how to save the different properties inside those windows, and then export that as a template back into Premiere Pro. So lots of stuff going on today.
That's really powerful as well. That's a great workflow.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I do use this workflow, and I have a couple that I've created, but I really just want to do this live and create the actual, graphics with everyone here on the stream. So they're not going to be perfect, but you'll get the gist of how we're going to do what we're going to do here. So
before we get into it, James, I wanted to let you know something. First, Robert had a question. Robert was asking, is that the new webcam with built-in AI?
It is, yes. I didn't even realize that I was just hovered on this. This is actually what I'm using right here, which is pretty cool. Insta360, the camera company that, creates that Insta360 camera, just made this webcam, I believe earlier this year. And this project that I'm cutting down was a sponsored YouTube video that I did with them for, in exchange for talking about this camera and the AI functionality. So it is very, very cool. You can actually control everything right through the interface on the desktop. So it's a really awesome little tool, super small, and you don't have to worry about a million cables taking up your space on your desk. So
that's awesome. And Annika said, excited to learn all the tips and tricks from James.
Sweet. Thank you, Annika. And it's nice to have you in the chat. So Ray, I guess I'm going to kind of get started. And again, if you want to, interject with other questions, whatever, will just be an open forum for the next hour and a half here. So
thank you, James. So my question is, what are you doing first? So you've made your project already, and now you're just doing your MOGRTs, which is short for motion graphics?
Correct. Yeah, it's like it's MOGRTs, MOGRTs, which is essentially that shortened version of motion graphics template. It's a mouthful if you don't say it that way. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to play back this little video that I have here. I've already created the video. Today's goal is not to show everyone how to actually cut this down. That's more of a Premiere lesson. If we have a little room or time at the end, we can go back into it. But basically, I created this video here for Insta360. This was that office tour video that you can see on my YouTube channel. It's the most recent upload. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a cut down 9:16 for social version of this that I can promote on my account and not have to actually share the entire video. I wanted to use it as a bit of like a marketing promo video to drive people to my channel and get them to actually watch the whole video. We know the attention span of those online is getting shorter and shorter, so we got to make sure we're holding those people's attention. Basically what I did is I took some of the best clips, took some nice copyright-free music using Epidemic Sound or Artlist, some of these companies that I use, and I just created like a little 11-second cut down that I want to post as an Instagram reel, which I'm going to play here in a second. And the goal for today is to create some titles like new video, new year, new space, something really flashy that's going to make that video pop a little bit more if someone's watching it without audio and they're just stumbling upon something really quickly.
That's also quite smart in today's world as well. You're right about things moving really quickly, but then also people watch stuff without even turning the sound on. Absolutely. So then that means you would miss something if you didn't have that on. So that's awesome. Also, Steve and Robert are very excited, including Renata. No text there, just heart eyes. So I think everyone's really excited to see where you're going with this.
All right, good, perfect. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to show everyone. So let me just play this back real quick. Again, this is without any titles. That's what we're going to be making on today's stream. Okay, so I have this looping right now just as a loop. And if you don't know where to find that inside of Premiere Pro, you'll just go to this button editor window up here. This is a nice little trick. And these are all these little buttons that you can add to just make your life a little bit easier in terms of like hotkeys. And this is the loop playback button. So I use this a lot when editing for social media so that I can see if the viewer might fall into a nice loop, it seems like it's going to be a nice flow and a user experience. So I try to cut everything down so that if they can watch it again, it just seems like a repetitive loop.
That's really good.
Cool. All right, so that's our video. So the first thing I want to do is let's just experiment with some of the things that are already here inside of Premiere Pro to show you that if you're scared of After Effects, first of all, don't be, because it's an amazing program and it's super powerful. But if you just wanted to learn right here in Premiere Pro, you can do that as well. So let's just drag something that is already created as like a template here in Premiere. Let's see, this one looks kind of cool. If you click it, I believe there's a way to, if you like hover over it, it'll play it back. But if it doesn't do that, what I do is I like to just basically drag the motion graphic template into my timeline, okay? And it's gonna load. And then you're going to basically have all of these functionalities that come into your window here. And if we click on this right here, you'll notice that along the right side, you have all of these different properties that exist in this motion graphics template. So the first thing I'm going to actually do here, I'm going to move us around a little bit. I like being able to see us here, but it's in the way. Okay. So I can see that whoever created this template, someone from Adobe, or, you know, it was already in the library. If I want to come in here and I want to change, let's say, the title, I want to actually adjust the title and name it something like New Space or New Studio. Okay, I'm going to come in here and type this.
So I have a question.
Please, yeah.
Were you able to, for you to go and change the text, did you have to go and click the text icon in the essential graphics first? Or were you able to just turn on the text and tap on the screen?
Yep, so you can actually just tap right here on the screen and you'll notice that this bounding box, this blue bounding box will kind of appear and it'll automatically click this text property up here. So if I hide that, that's just applying to the text here. And if I just double click that, it's automatically gonna switch here to my type tool. So now I can actually type in whatever I need. So you can use the selection tool. V is the hotkey on the keyboard. You can come in here and move that around. But all I want to do is change the name of that title, and then I want to come in here and I want to change the font. Okay, so one of the biggest things that we're going to talk about today as we're making these custom MOGRTs is like a style guide or a brand guideline that you can sort of go off of. I use the CC libraries a lot inside of Creative Cloud right here. And the reason I like to use that is because I have my own little style guide for Leave the Map for our business that has color swatches and the font that I use so that we can have a very consistent look on all of our lower thirds or graphics, and it makes it feel a little bit more unique to us.
So is this something that you can make of your own choice? Like you can make your own style guide, or are you downloading another style guide and editing that?
Nope, anyone can make a style guide and bring it into Premiere Pro. Right here in the libraries, you'll notice I have a couple different libraries that I've created. And the nice thing about that is you can, project by project, you can make a library if you're working with other editors, or even more appropriate, like if you're working with a designer and you're the editor, I'm the editor, it helps to have them create the library. Let's say there's a working library, and then you can access this library not only here in Premiere. If we pop into After Effects, you can go to the libraries and it's the same exact library. So I think that's really powerful because now you don't have to copy hex codes. You don't have to like go back and forth and remember, oh, what was the font that I used in Premiere?
It's truly got the dynamic link going, but on a different scale. That's
absolutely
fantastic for the workflow.
Yes, yeah. Little things like that, just, I don't know, Ray, if you feel the same way, make me very excited.
It does, because then when you're working and okay, I don't need to worry about it. It's like when you save something on the cloud and maybe you put it on one computer and you're downstairs now on a different one. you know it's there. You don't have to
Yep.
be like, let me get my USB stick.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we used to use USB
Oh my God.
sticks?
USB. I don't even, I have a bunch in a drawer somewhere. I have no idea where they are anymore. It's just, it's irrelevant. If you have a good internet connection, libraries will save you a ton of time. I actually did a daily creative challenge at the end of last year. And if you go on to the Adobe Creative Cloud or the Adobe Live YouTube channel, you can see a specific, I believe it was the last day we talked specifically about libraries. So that video is out there somewhere if you want to look into that more. Okay. So we come in here, we like to use Go Bold. This is a font that I like, that I use for Leave the Map. It's a font that I've downloaded for free. I didn't pay for this, but it's just something that I like. I like the fact that there's different line weights, so I can use them in different contexts. So I'm gonna go bold, okay? So already now we just have our font here instead of somebody else's. I'm gonna go down to episode. I don't really like having a font there at all. Like I just don't think I want to have anything there. So I'm just going to turn that off. Okay. So now if we play this back, I'm going to mute this track. It's a very rudimentary, very basic, just scaled graphic, you know, nothing special, but it's something that all we had to do was drop it in and change the font because it was already created for us. Now, if I go back in here, let's see if there's anything else that we can actually adjust. So we have the shape here, right? So you can see that the shape is just the box around it. And we have all these properties that allow us to actually change certain parameters about this shape. So right now the stroke width is at 6. If I took this and changed it to 10, now we have a bit of a bigger stroke here. I'm going to actually zoom in so we can see this a little bit more on the stream.
So this means that you're able to actually go in and properly customize it without having to worry about changing the animation in any way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the benefit of MOGRTs. Like you can create whatever you want that's as turnkey as possible. So I think they work really well for lower thirds, which we're going to try to get into today a little bit. So just that alone, just being able to actually adjust certain things, you can see that there's a little bit of like a scale bounce up and back animation. And I'd like to do something like that later on in After Effects. Maybe we want to change the color of that stroke. So we can come in here, we can take our color picker, we can pick anything random. But I actually want to make sure that I'm sticking to that style guide. So I have my Leave the Map style guide up here, and you can see the hex codes. So if I didn't use the color picker, I can just copy the hex code. But for this, I'm going to take my color picker and I am going to change the stroke color. I don't like that, the way that looks, but you can see how quickly you can just adjust these things. There's a drop shadow happening over the shape. I don't really want that. So I'm just going to turn that off and hide that. You know, you can come in here, you can change the color. So all of these, that looks kind of cool. It's okay. You know, you can adjust these things to your liking to a point. So this is like example one of pulling from some of the MOGRTs that are already created here inside Premiere Pro. Again, they're very basic, but they get you started and they can sort of get you in the door to start adding stuff to your videos.
Can I just say, James, that
Please.
I think once you showed us what you could actually do with the outline and that the pen tool or the shape was still actually active, and then you said, oh yeah, it's great for lower thirds, I think I just realized how powerful this actually is. Because as a After Effects person, normally we would go in, make the lower third or make something that has the text, leave it in there, use that as the template and have to keep going back into there to change it. This has changed the whole game. This has changed everything. So my eyes, they're open. I'm ready.
That's actually a very good point, though. I'm glad you brought that up. As an After Effects user, you understand the then there's a lot of like tricks and ways that people will, you know, batch edit lower thirds. My job before I worked for myself, I was working for Verizon, and I was editing all of their internal marketing videos, and I was constantly having to make lower thirds for executives and interview videos. And this didn't really exist at that time. So I was doing exactly what you say, where you're just like manually duplicating each lower third, taking the pre-comp out and replacing it. This just makes it entirely easier.
And on that note, Annika said the production value is James.
Wow, Annika just really buttering me up over here. Thank you. All right, so example one, cool. That title works, but I don't necessarily think that it would stop me in my tracks if I was a viewer. I think there needs to be more. I think we need to customize it a little bit more. And that is where we are going to hop into After Effects. Okay. So again, if you're just hopping in here, basically all we did, we just used what already existed inside of Premiere Pro's Essential Graphics window. Now, the way that they get created is through After Effects. You can create your own MOGRTs inside of Premiere, but they are a little bit more basic. We want to be able to customize a MOGRT and make it look something like this. So let's just hop in to After Effects. And again, I think I want to try to, given the time that we have, create like 1 or 2 different custom ones, 3 if we can do it. The first one, basically just with text and title. The second one, we're going to talk about media replacement and the power of being able to do something like this. So if I play this back here, let's fit this to the screen here. It looks like it's fit. This is just something I made as like a little kind of, I don't know, like a title intro. Okay, so the beauty of this media replacement tool is we can customize an Essential Graphics MOGRT, and we can then inside of Premiere replace this media, this photo, with footage, with any photo we want, and just do it right inside of Premiere Pro. So
inside of Premiere.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool. We're going to get to that in a second. So let's just start with something basic. I'm going to remake this so that we can kind of all do this together. That's just like a little, yes, go ahead.
I have a question. Oh, you can
Please.
see me.
Yes.
Sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does it matter what size that you're making your text in, or do you have a preference for when you're making a new composition for your text, or does it vary depending on what you're making it for? So like your last one, 16:9, the real kind of size, would you make your composition the real size in order to do it, just to make it simpler?
That's a great question and a great point. Something I definitely want to hit on. I think for the 9:16 version, what we'd want to do here, let's like start this project instead of in 16:9. I want to make this, what we just made, and turn it into a MOGRT, but in a 9:16 format. So let's just go Command N. This is going to bring up our new composition window. Right now it's defaulted to 1920 by 1080. That's 16:9 format. We're just going to reverse it, 1080 by 1920, and you'll see that it now says 9:16. We are going to name our composition. Very important, Ray. I know you probably feel this too. Organization in After Effects can get so unruly. So I would say, do you have a preference of like how you organize your folders, or is it sort of...
I do, actually, especially as somebody that animates in it, and I end up with over 300 comps and layers and this and that. Normally, the text will have a marker at the end, so I know that I either don't need to touch it or I don't need to mess with it, or I'll make folders in the project window, and I'll make it storage for things that I don't actually need to use to make sure it's clearer, and so I can only see the stuff I actually need.
Gotcha.
Also, including the color coding. I don't know, do you use the color coding as well?
I use the color coding a lot in Premiere. Again, like I probably need to use more of it in After Effects, but I just try to at least keep like most of my folders organized by, you know, comp, footage, assets, pre-comps especially, because then pre-comps get even more confusing, and assets, and all of a sudden you're like, I have no idea what I'm looking at here. So
yeah.
I get it. So I would love to, I'd love to see your organization. But for this case, so right here, we just created a new composition in 9:16. Okay, so I want to create sort of a nice little text that you just saw here. And let's just go back to this. And I'm going to recreate this from scratch so that we can see what we did here. Very simple, but there's a couple little animating properties that I wanted to go over. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my my grid here. I don't know if you do this as well, but I like to bring up, not the grid, the title action safe. And then I like to bring up my, where am I going here?
So this is a little bit like when you turn on your phone and you can see, what is it, the middle third, the middle section is where people are looking, and then the outsides aren't that important.
Exactly. So I basically just pulled up my title safe. This is like more for broadcast back in the day. You don't really need to worry about this so much, but I like that because I like to have a center point when I'm doing titles, when I'm doing any sort of centered frame, especially for Reels and TikTok videos. And so I just went to View. I went to Show Rulers, and then you could just drag as many rulers up here as you'd like. And I just drag 2, so I have the center here. Okay, so
for those coming from Photoshop, they'll recognize this. And also, if you do something in Photoshop, the ruler stays where it is in After Effects. So that's really helpful from someone that's coming over.
Very true. Yep. And if we pop back into Premiere, I mentioned these button editors earlier. I like to drag the safe margins, the show guides, and the rulers down here into my window so that when I turn them on, I can just like, I don't have to do that every time. I can just turn this on, and now I know exactly where everything is.
Does the ruler from After Effects translate into Premiere? Does it stay?
It doesn't stay. I think I just had it like this because my brain thinks this way, I guess.
Okay.
That was a very happy accident. So no, that does not happen exactly the same way, but you can set it up so that you can just, click a button. We're in it for the ease of use here. Okay, so we're gonna go in here, new, and you have all these options. If you're brand new at After Effects, this is pretty basic. So we're gonna go new text, okay, and we're gonna just type new space, or let's just go new year, new space, okay? And if I click this, you'll notice that our anchor point is set to the bottom of our box here. I want it to be a centered anchor point so that everything stays centered. So a quick trick to do that is click new year. You're gonna go Command on a Mac, I believe probably Option on a PC maybe, or Control. And then if you go right up here to the anchor point position and you double click it, it will center that anchor point to your text.
Ah, I've learned something new. Okay, that's awesome.
I was so excited to see that. I was like, yes, okay, she didn't know that. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna move this, and then what I like to do is I like to go to my align window. So I bring up my essential graphics over here, and you'll notice that I have all these properties. Align. We're gonna go vertical and center. Just make sure we have everything aligned the way we want it. Okay, and I can adjust the size in a second here. All right, so what I want to do is I want to add a couple shapes. I want the shapes to animate in first, almost like sort of a staggered scale. Again, very basic. We'll leave this here for now. We're going to come in here, new shape layer rather than a solid. You have way more abilities to animate a shape layer than you do a solid layer. So I think it's just always smart to do that. So we're going to go to shape layer here. And then up here at the top, you'll notice that we have a fill property, which is the box that we're going to create will be filled. And we have our stroke. And right now the stroke color is, there's nothing there. If we clicked into this and we picked a stroke color, you'll notice that it now changed and there's a width of 10. I want to turn the stroke off. So if I actually click inside here, I'm just going to go boom, no stroke, just fill. Okay. So we'll go to our shape layer, and now you can see I have the option up here. We have our box, our rectangle tool. If you press Q on the keyboard, you'll be able to move right through these shapes. So you might want an ellipse, you might want a circle. Q will just change it from a star, a rectangle, a triangle, instead of having to like use the pen tool and create custom shapes. So
James, you know all the shortcuts. The shortcuts. I didn't know none of these.
So this is actually kind of cool too. So let's try this just to show. So let's say we want to make a triangle and I drag this. This is a star. We don't really want a star, okay? But let's put this star into our composition here. And if you scroll down to polystar, you'll notice that that shape layer created what's called a polystar. And we go all the way down to our path. We have the points on that path, on that polystar. If I change it to 3, it now turns into a triangle, okay? And we can do the same thing. We can press Command on our keyboard and double click this. And now our anchor point is set to the center of that triangle. And let's say we wanted to maybe align this right behind our new year here. Again, I don't really want to use a triangle for this, but you get the idea that you can create different shapes other than just a square.
I've just been told that it is absolutely control. For PC, Command is control on PC. If you're watching and you're not too sure and you don't have a Mac, control.
Okay, good, because I'm pretty much illiterate when it comes to a PC. So I'm just I'm an Apple guy all the way. So thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you, Annika.
Okay, so we're gonna go to our shape layer. We're gonna press Q here as our shortcut. We're gonna go back to a square, okay? And I am going to add that shape again. So new shape layer, all right? And if you press Shift, it'll create a box. I just wanna create a rectangle sort of behind this box, right? Really simple, really clean. Okay, I'm gonna press Return or Enter on my keyboard on a Mac. That'll just be able to rename my shape. We're just gonna call this like bounding box. And we're gonna be always wanting to rename and label these layers as best we can. Okay, and let's move our shape layer. So now we have a shape layer, we have a text layer. Very, very basic. And before we actually get into any animating, what you'll notice is, and Ray, I mean, this is sort of After Effects 101. You have transform properties for the global scale positioning of that shape. And you also have properties of the shape itself. And what I mean by that is you can come in here and you can actually change the stroke of that shape. This allows you to get really, really specific. And you're going to see why this is important when we actually create that MOGRT, because we're going to be taking these properties and building that MOGRT so we can then change those things inside of Premiere Pro.
Ooh.
if that makes any sense.
It does. You know what this means? As I've just recently learned, for those that use Photoshop and Illustrator to bring them into After Effects, Illustrator is also able to turn its images into a shape like this, so you can actually see the content. So this means you could go wild with this.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's very, and you can like any of these properties. So right now, if we didn't do anything, right? Like we haven't animated anything, and I wanted to just take, let's just do something really, really basic just to show this example. I'm just going to change the scale of my box, and I'm going to change the position of my text, right? Really simple. So to do that, I'm going to press S on my keyboard. That's going to bring up the scale property. Again, keyboard shortcuts are your best friend always. They're going to save you tons of time and carpal tunnel. Okay, so here we go. So Shift Command is going to move my playhead. Sorry, Shift Command arrow will move my playhead 6 frames. I like to just start there because it gives me some consistent like time in between. And then Option, again, I'm doing this on a Mac, so it's probably Control.
Option is Alt, I've been told from Robert. Option is Alt for PC.
Great. Alt S will just add that other point. So you don't actually have to click into the keyframe if you don't want to. These are how you can navigate those keyframes a little easier on your keyboard. J will bring me back to the keyframe before, and all I'm going to do is press in here and press 0. Okay, so now I went from 0 to 100. Very, very basic, very simple. And I think a lot of people overlook the fact that you can animate really amazing things using just these 4 properties if you ease in and create some different like speeds with these keyframes. So if I hide this, it's very basic, right? But we can change that a little bit. So if I come in here and I highlight these 2 keyframes, I'm going to go Command E, and that's going to ease in those properties. Okay. If I don't want the keyboard, I can right click here and you go Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease. It's like the most important part of After Effects, arguably, as maybe you agree with me or not, right?
Oh,
but
yes.
It's a huge part of smoothing out those transitions, right? Okay.
Ooh, someone who's just joined, welcome David, and everybody else that has just joined. We are with James Bonanno, who is teaching us how to customize our own motion graphic templates.
Yes.
Premiere.
Yes.
So enlightening. And we're looking a little bit at some animation things and how to easy ease. There's one more way, just in case people want to know. You can also hold, well, to turn it back to a normal.
Oh, yeah. So to turn it back, you would just hold Alt or Command. There we go. Command. Yeah. And then you can turn it back to that linear keyframe or, you know, put it back into our Easy Ease. So this right now creates something that looks a little bit smoother. It looks a little more refined. But let's say we want to create something that pushes in really, really fast and then sort of slowly sort of eases in. Okay, so we're going to highlight these points, and you'll see that there's this graph editor inside of your panel here. So we're going to open that up, and if I zoom in plus on my keyboard, you'll see this is basically a visual representation of what those keyframes are doing. So it's creating that nice arc, but you have these little handles down here, and these handles, I feel like Bob Ross, the painter. It's like these handles are your happy little friends, right? So they're your friends, and if you drag them and move them, you'll actually change the influence and the speed of that keyframe. Okay, so if I hold Shift to make sure I'm keeping this straight, now if we go back, I've created a much more dynamic animation. Okay, so if we go here, boom. Now it starts to look a little bit like an animation, and you can imagine stacking different elements on top of it. You have something now. It's not just a box that randomly zooms in. Okay,
it gives a little bit more character, more dynamism.
A little more flair, a little more something going on. Okay, let's say we want to, rather than just go 0 to 100, we want to create something that feels almost like it's bouncing. So we want something to come up and then kind of like zoom back out. All we're going to do here is add one more keyframe to the end of our animation, because that's going to be the final place that point will stop. And I'm going to go back with J. So J will go to the next keyframe, K. That's just how my keyboard shortcuts are set up. So I'm going to go to J here. And basically, I want this scale property to be a little bit bigger than the property I end with, right? Because you want it to feel like it's moving towards the screen and then coming back, okay? So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this property and I'm going to go 150. That might be too big. We'll see in a second. Okay, so if I play this back.
I found it's really good when you go too big sometimes, because you know that it works. It's easier to scale it back.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, that actually works. I sort of like the fact that it does leave the frame a little bit, but I think the properties from the scale here to this one are a little bit too slow, and I want to shorten that time. I want that to be a little bit faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go J again to this keyframe. I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to drag this keyframe back a little more. So now it's a lot quicker ending than it is to start. So here we go. Boom. Okay, so that's okay. Like we're just building the basics, the basic blocks of our little MOGRT here. Okay, so I like that.
Ronaldo's just jumped in and said, amazing.
Wow, thank you. All right, so if we go back into our graph editor, you'll notice here's our visual representation of this speed. I want to actually come in here and I want to change the speed of how this gets animated out. So we're creating these dynamic animations very, very simply. I think that's what I'm trying to show. Again, like I said, I am not in any way an advanced After Effects wizard, video wizard, like you are probably, Ray, but everybody can really start to create something that may seem basic, but as you continue to layer things, they look pretty professional and pretty nice. Cool. All right, so I'm liking the way that's looking, okay? And maybe I want to create a little more like of a trail of a blur. And so all I'm gonna do here is we have this Gaussian blur, or sorry, motion blur adjustment layer. I'm just gonna turn that on, okay? And it might take a little bit longer to render that specific shape, but you'll see that there's a little bit of a trail happening here. And if we click this here, we can actually like transparent the background so we can see that color. So you can actually see with it on and off, it's creating the slightest blur, which gives that illusion of motion a little bit more. Okay, so that's our first shape there.
Robert just said, I need to learn After Effects. Photoshop is a little too limited when it comes to animation. And Polk says, After Effects is truly an awesome program, but it's very deep.
It is. And I think, again, like that's what I'm really trying to teach here today, is that as deep as After Effects can get, we're just scratching the like tippy surface today. And I think that's what will make hopefully you watching not feel so intimidated with After Effects. It's the way that I started. I had to sort of just learn to make things like this for clients, and you learn as you go. And in today's videos, we're trying to be a little bit more basic for those that are feeling a little more intimidated here inside of After Effects. Okay, so basically, if we want to create two of these boxes, maybe we want to stagger them in different ways. We don't have to recreate that box. We can just basically duplicate this shape and adjust certain properties. So Command D on my specific keyboard, probably Alt or Control D would duplicate it. Okay, and I'm going to name this, let's go bounding back box.
And this is where keeping your stuff neat and organized comes in, because the more layers that James makes, the more complicated it's going to be. So,
absolutely, yes.
Organization.
Okay. So a couple things here. You'll see that there's a snapping box here. I'm just going to show you what that would be like if it was on. V is, you can see now, if I move this, it's going to snap right to that center point. It's going to snap to our layer. And I don't really want that right now. I want to be able to move it a little bit more freely. So I'm going to turn that off. And I'm just going to almost like, basically what I want to do is create my own sort of like drop shadow and do it in shape layers so that I can animate each one of those shapes. Whereas if I just put a drop shadow, I can't really animate that. So that's the goal here. Okay.
David said, once you get plugins, the roller coaster ride truly begins.
It does. And Ray, you have like the coolest accent ever. I feel like I just want you to host me on here all the time because
as she says, as she makes her voice much louder and higher. I'm so sorry.
No, I feel smarter being around you. Okay, so here's our back bounding box here, and I'm going to change the color of that so that we can have a little bit of a different, unique kind of depth to it. Back bounding box. This is our front one, and here's our back one here. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. I'm going to click my fill, and I'm going to go into that libraries, and I'm going to make sure that I'm still using my style guide. Okay, you can do whatever you'd like, but I like to actually use the style guide that I put in place. I'm going to do a little darker color. Okay, and we're going to press OK. Now I know that no matter what I do, I am sticking to that brand guidelines. Okay, and if I play this back,
that have just come in, because I've noticed a few people have just joined. James just taught us something incredible and new that's linked between Premiere and After Effects. You're basically able to make your own style guide. So on the right-hand side of the screen, we can see that James has a map style guide that's more relevant for the stuff he's doing at the moment. he's let us know that we can actually make our own, put in our own colors, put in our own. I see images in there as well. You can put in images too.
You can. Yep. We're definitely going to try to get to that today because that's such a cool feature of these MOGRTs, and how you can then not have to replace them in After Effects. You can just replace the media inside of Premiere Pro. Okay, so here's where we're at so far. We don't have much yet, but we have our new year. We have these boxes kind of animating at the same time. Although I like the way they both animate together, I kind of want them to be a little staggered. So all I'm going to do, again, I just duplicated that one shape, and it has all of those properties from the shape that I animated previously. So you don't have to create things twice. Make your life easier. Use the power of, duplicating and recreating different shapes. Okay, so this navy box, all I'm going to do is just drag this out. And if I press Command A to highlight my layers here, and I press U is going to bring up the features that we've already animated. So you can see I have my scale coming in here, and then I have this other one staggered. So it would play something like this. We're going to hide our text. What happened there? What did I just do? I hit
all of them are gone. I think we had everything highlighted.
I hit everything. Okay. Cool. So I like the way that those come in sort of a little bit more staggered. And actually, I want this box on the bottom to maybe be a little bit slower. That's fine.
We've got some questions and some mentions. Jeff Yas just joined in and said, I'm definitely going to have to replay this one. Please do. That's one of the perks of having the live stream. It's always got the VOD afterwards. And Robert said, question, can you import 3D CAD to After Effects?
I believe you can. I would probably say, again, like I'm not a CAD connoisseur, but I think you'd be able to import it. After Effects, if you imported an Illustrator file, you can convert that to a shape layer. So anything that's vector based, you can animate here in After Effects by converting it to a shape layer. So that might be a bit of a future video if people are interested in it, but I believe you can, yeah. All right, so let's animate our text. I like the way that these are looking. Again, pretty nice and basic, very simple little graphic. And again, we can control the color. We can control all those things once we actually create this MOGRT here in a second. So let's go into our text properties. And like shape layers, a text property in After Effects has a lot more functionalities than a solid would. Okay, so you'll notice that when you click text, you have the source text, and you have all your transform properties. And these transform properties, if I move this, these are the global properties of that text. But if I animate certain things, I can animate the text itself before I animate a global property. So let's say I want to animate the position. And if I go back to what I did previously, which looks very simple, but it takes a little bit of practice, you can see like this text has this nice little sort of like drop down animation coming from what almost feels like it's coming from inside of that box. And it's slick, but it's subtle. Okay, so we're going to make that. All right, so how we do that? Okay, here we go. So we're going to go to our property here, and we're going to go animate. Where am I going here? Animate position. Okay, so we're going to animate the position of the text. And in every one of these animators, there's going to be a range selector. Okay, so you can name all these properties. Again, if you're just using After Effects for the very first time, this might seem a little bit like there's too much going on already. I can't hang, I'm out. But don't feel that way. It's very, it's simple once you start to really get the hang of it. And you can rename all these to keep yourself even more organized. Okay.
I'm going to follow up with what James said. Don't forget, when you're trying something new, it's always a bit weird the first time. It took you many years to learn how to walk. So allow yourself to have those years with every other new thing you're doing.
I still have trouble walking, so I'm working on it myself. Okay, so you'll see all I did here. You have the range selector, you have a start and an end property. I've never really liked the way that After Effects has this laid out because it's confusing even for someone who uses it a lot to have like a start and an end, even though technically the start parameter is the end parameters, right? And I don't know if you feel that same way, Ray, but basically here's, if you look at this cursor here and I go to the end here, and I drag my start property to 100, you'll notice that that little cursor has now moved to the end, okay? And that's really important because whatever animation you add to this position is essentially telling After Effects, like, we want this position to go from here to here, and that's how you can get that, like, nice staggered, like, text animation, I guess, right?
Ooh.
Okay, so right now nothing has happened. We didn't actually make the animation yet. I'm gonna actually turn these off so we can just focus on the text for a second, okay? And I'm gonna then take my position here, which is right here. So position underneath the animator, not position underneath that transform property. Again, this is the global position. This is just the text itself, if that makes sense, okay? So we're gonna create 2 keyframes, one here. We're gonna go K to go to that next point, and we're gonna go 1 here, okay? And I'm gonna just go back, and I'm gonna take my position, and I'm gonna move it up, okay? So right now, that's all we have so far. Just that makes it kind of like a cool little animation. And all we did was create 2 parameters. So very, very
I'll
simple.
be honest, James, the
Yeah.
way that I feel the tears welling up, you don't understand how when I've gone in to animate text, I've split the text independently.
Oh,
and then I
no.
do each one. So this is so cool.
It's
Oh,
honestly, it has taken me so many years to, and there's still sometimes when I get in here and I'm like, oh, how did I do that again? And how do you make it smooth? And I'm really glad that you had that reaction, because again, simple little things in After Effects may not look like we're creating flames coming off of a car somewhere, but this will be so much easier for a custom MOGRT that we can just like slap new titles in and change things. So those parameters are the first things we're going to do, okay? Now, if you can, like I did with these boxes, we can easy ease these things. And in Animator properties inside of text, there's an advanced drop-down little caret right here. So if I drop this down, you'll notice that I have a lot more keyframeable options here. I have ease high, ease low, smoothness. There's a lot, okay? The only things that I'm going to have you worry about right here is the shape. So again, that shape is like the ease in, ease out shape of how that text will animate in. I like to have it ramp up. So we're going to change the shape and play that back.
Oh.
Okay, so that's a lot smoother. But now we have this weird thing where the beginning of our position doesn't start above that box. And if I turn these shapes back on, what I want is I want New Year to start above the box and then fall into it, okay? And there's a couple ways to go around that. We have our ease high and our ease low. I'm going to change ease high to about 50%. Okay, and I'm going to change ease low to 50%. All we're doing with this is we're creating that same ease in, ease out that we did with these shapes, but we're doing it right inside the animator. Okay, you can actually change whether you want the words to just drop down or the characters. So this is just the words. I don't like the way that looks. I'm going to go back to the characters. Okay, and the way that we're going to get this to function the way we want it to is this offset property. Okay, and this is something that, I'll be honest, still kind of confuses me sometimes, but the beauty of After Effects is you can just play around with things until they work for you or until you pull your hair out. There's only 2 options.
The former, hopefully, more the former.
Yes, the former. Okay, so we're going to press turn our stopwatch on for offset. Okay, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to tell After Effects we want that because we've now like changed those properties, we want the New Year word to start above that box. So we're going to go negative 50%. And it looks like maybe we need it to be a little higher. Let's just try that. Negative 100. Okay. And you'll notice that now our line is back to where we want it to start. And if we go all the way to the end, I need to now go 100 to add that line to the end of my property so that you now have an animation that basically happens in its entirety. The entire animation starts from top to bottom. There's a couple things that I'm still not super happy with. I really want that position to be above the box. So if I click in here, again, all these keyframes you can adjust further as you like. So we're going to take that text outside the box.
I have a question. Oh,
Yes.
That's nice. Normally, when both keyframes I've found, when both of my keyframes look like they're selected in After Effects and I tweak something, it magically actually tweaks both the keyframes. So I was very impressed to see that it didn't happen to you right there. So that was really cool.
I know. I was a little worried too. I was like, uh-oh, here we go. I honestly, that could have 50-50 shot it worked. So glad it did.
Also, from Jeff was saying that they're very interested in animated shape layers from Illustrator. We were speaking about that a little bit earlier, actually. So make sure when you do watch it back, James actually does mention how to go in and animate different parts from the shape layer. That's the boxes that we can see on there. And we were saying before, actually, when you bring in a Illustrator file, you can turn it into a vector shape that it can see, and you'll be able to tweak it this way and also make it a motion graphics too.
You can, yeah. And I don't have an Illustrator file on hand right now, or else I would do it. But it's as simple as bringing it in and converting it to a shape layer, and then sort of like hiding the Illustrator file, because the Illustrator file is a vector shape. But if you don't bring it into After Effects as like the composition that has all those properties, After Effects will just see it as a compressed file. So there's no properties to it. Okay, so all I did right here is I'm just adjusting the timing. So I want to make sure that the text comes in sort of after these boxes are done animating. So I'm going to highlight all of my keyframes here, and then we're going to mask this so that it doesn't look like it just appears out of nowhere. It looks like it actually comes from behind the behind our shapes here. Okay, so play that back. Boom. Everything's looking pretty good. I want to change the position of this a little bit more. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to do before we actually turn this into a MOGRT, because I do want to get to media replacement today, is we're going to click the text here. And all we're going to do is we're going to create a mask from these boxes. Okay, so to do that is basically click your text and then go to the rectangle tool. And we're going to draw a mask around the shape. Okay, ooh, wow. What did we do, James? We didn't really do anything. All we did was draw the shape. No, we did something a little cooler. Okay, so we've created a mask, and now if we play this back, we can see that this actually appears out of nowhere because we've masked out the text above it. If we wanted to go the other way, which we wouldn't, we would just invert this, and then you would actually see the text here, and it would disappear behind that box. So just a very simple, easy way to create a mask using a shape. Okay.
Just for saying that this is so cool.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I'm really glad. I feel like it's pretty basic, but I do enjoy it. I feel like it's good to know these things because it's a good place to start and not feel, again, like not feel intimidated with After Effects.
Plus, the advanced stuff is just the basic stuff, but lots of it. So
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So here is what we got so far. Very, very simple. I'm going to actually turn on my motion blur for the text because I want that to blur as well. I think that looks pretty cool. All right, and then we're gonna play a couple seconds out, and we want to go to the reverse. We want this to play play out as well. Okay, so all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna then basically copy or press these keyframes here. I'm gonna go to the end of my timeline here. I'm gonna change that offset to -100 because I plan on doing the reverse of what I did earlier. I'm gonna go up with my position, and I'm gonna go to -100 to the start. Okay, and now we go. Boom. Really nice little outro. And what I want to have happen here is I want that text to go out. And as it's going out, I then want those boxes here to animate those scales in reverse. Okay, so Command S or Option S, sorry. Okay, we're going to scale this box up and then back. So we're going to do the exact same sort of animation in reverse. There's another easier way to do this, but I'm doing it the manual way. So we're going to go here to 0. We're gonna go back to J, and we're gonna go 150 because that's what we did at the beginning. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing below here. And Ray, please stop me if I'm talking too fast or if people aren't. Cool.
You're doing. I don't want to ruin your flow. Like I'm here for this. Also, your easy way, would it just be copying and pasting the frames in reverse?
Yeah, so that you could do that. That's the easy way. I think there's a way, and you probably know this better, if you like either pre-compose the shapes and then you just go like time reverse and then it just reverses the layer. The only reason I'm not doing that is because I'm not entirely sure if then it would screw up the MOGRT that we create, because I feel like those files need to be in there that way. I'm also not totally sure.
On your masking point, Paco said, so simple to mask the text layer. I usually create a map, but always forget the easier option.
Yeah, it's I do that too. I feel like mats are such a good option in certain ways, but the mask on that is good, I think, for what we're doing here, so that when we're changing it inside of Premiere, we don't have to really worry about it too much. All right, so I'm just gonna drag this down a little bit. Maybe I want this to be shorter. I know that my video is only 11 seconds long, so we got New Year. Let's drag this down. And actually, okay, so that's one option. So why don't we make this a MOGRT and show you guys how to actually save those properties, because I know things go by so fast on these streams. It's crazy.
I know. You think an hour and a half is long, but it's really not.
It's really not. Okay, so first thing we want to do to turn this into our own custom MOGRT. Okay, so we're going to go to Window. Oh, hello, Window. That's a different one. Here we go. Let me move us over here. Window, Essential Graphics. Okay. And you can see the essential graphics right here on the left-hand side. And you basically have the name, a primary composition that it's pulling from. So in this case, I'm going to change it to the for Instagram version. And I'm going to just scroll to like something here, and I'm going to go set poster frame. And so I'm going to set this poster frame so you can see exactly the animated part of that MOGRT. And now we're going to start to build basically everything reverse engineered from what we did and pull the properties that we want to inside of this essential graphics panel. Okay.
I'm so excited. Oh.
So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to drag our source text, because we know we want to be able to change the font. We want to be able to change the text. We want to be able to change everything about that text when we get it into Premiere. So all you're going to do is go solo supported properties. And the crazy thing is all of these properties are supported inside of a MOGRT. So I can drag in everything if I wanted to, and I could customize this inside of Premiere Pro, which is kind of nuts. But I'm only going to do a couple properties that I want to adjust. Source text is the first one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this in here. Okay. So, and I'm going to change this to like text goes here. Okay. And we're going to go to edit properties. So if I drag this over, there's a couple things I want to make sure I enable. Enable custom font selection, enable font size, and enable styles. And this allows me to then enable all those styles inside of Premiere when I want to change them for whatever reason. Okay. So you'll see now I have all of these functionalities that when we export this as a template, we can do inside of Premiere Pro. All right. So that's all I'm going to do with the text. Let's just go down here.
So that means we could literally drag in the animation one if we really want. No.
We could. Yeah, we could try it. Let's see. I have no idea what it's going to do. Let's see. I wonder if this would actually allow us to. Oh, so that's, yeah. So sometimes the keyframed properties are what Premiere ignores which is kind of strange to me because you have the ability to keyframe inside of Premiere. But yes, we can't really do that, unfortunately.
It's already powerful enough as it is.
It is
too much power, like
right? Yeah, too much. So the other thing I want to do is I want to take the scale. Maybe I want to change the scale of that text. Let's drag that in. Okay, let's drag in the opacity, and I'm gonna make a group. So again, organization. I feel like I talk about this on every stream. It's really important. So I'm gonna add a group, and I'm gonna name this group text. Okay, and so everything that is associated with our text, we're going to drag into that group. So we have our range selector, we have our scale property, boom, boom, and boom. Okay, so there's all the assets that we want to adjust in our text. Okay, so let's just leave it at that. And now let's go to our box here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to be able to change the size of this box. I want to be able to change the color, the stroke, the opacity, all those things. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the color here. Again, if for some reason you close everything out, all you got to do is click this and go to solo supported properties. And now again, we'll see all the properties that are supported. Okay, so here's the rectangle itself. Maybe I want to change the size of that rectangle. So we're going to drag the size in. Okay, so this is we're going to name it box, teal box, or just say box 1 size.
Renata said, wow. And Nika said, I do love a good MOGRT. See, now it sounds like food again. We're back on food.
It does. All right, so that's our size. I'm going to change, let's take the roundness because we can actually round out those edges. We're just gonna have some fun. Take that and we're gonna drop in the color. We wanna be able to change the color. We want to be able to change the opacity, and we want to be able to change the stroke width. All right, so now we're gonna go to another group. We're gonna name this box 1. Okay, so that's all our box 1 parameters. We're gonna drag all these in here.
While James is doing that, just a reminder for the chat, if you know somebody that you'd like to recommend to be a guest on Adobe Live, or you yourself would like to be a guest, please check out the Behance chat. Just in case you're not there or you're on the YouTube one, check out the chat. There should be a link so you can come over to the Behance side. At the top, you'll see a tab that says nominate. So please nominate yourself or an artist friend that you know that would like to have a chance to be a guest on Adobe Live.
Yes, please. Please do. It is, we're always looking for wonderfully talented creators to be on here. You learn something new every single time. I know I do.
Me too. This whole section, like the first 10 minutes, I was like, my brain is just like ready to receive.
Well, the cool thing, I mean, I've said it before on here, the greatest thing about this community and this platform is that we all get to learn from each other in different ways. You know, like you're such a pro with After Effects, but I was able to teach you something that you didn't know, and I learned something from you. And that's, I think, the best part about the community is that we're all in it to learn. We're all in it to enjoy the process and have fun with it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so now these are all the parameters that I personally want to be able to maybe change when we get inside of Premiere Pro. Okay, so this is the kind of the crux of how a MOGRT is created inside of After Effects. I'm going to name this. We're going to come in and name this, let's just say Adobe Live lower third V1. And I'm just going to go text only. Okay, that's very long. It's probably a better way to name it, but for now, that's what it is. Okay. And here's what we're gonna do. Ready for the magic time?
I'm ready.
I really hope this works. That's all.
I told you James is a magician.
All right, so we go to export motion graphics template. It's as easy as that. Okay, you go right here, and you can save that destination to a number of different places. You can save it to the local drive, which is usually where all of those essential graphics are going to live anyway. So if you don't want to save a different folder, you can do that. I've created a custom library. Again, it's so easy to make that. You just come in here and you can actually create your own libraries. I don't know if you can do it right in here. I think you can. And I created a library called Adobe Live MOGRTs, and that's where this is going to live. You can come in here and add keywords. So if we called the, keyword Adobe Live, maybe we want a keyword text only. So we can start to like build a database of things that we want to, reach for when we're looking to edit stuff quickly. Let's just press OK. All right. Following fonts were not synced from Adobe. I would ignore that for now because I think we're still going to be fine. I still have this font inside of Premiere. It shouldn't be an issue, but if it is, we'll fix it. Okay, so let's go into Premiere. Let's say we want to take this and we want to bring that MOGRT and start to change some things over our video. Okay, so I'm going to hide these properties here so I can see what I'm doing, turn off the loop playback, and now, oh boy, here we go, Ray. Let's see how we did.
Great, drum roll.
All right, so it's right here at the top of my libraries. If I type in Adobe to see what I have the Adobe Live lower third. Here is our thumbnail. If I drag this in, now, if I play this back, okay, we see that our text is definitely too big, and hopefully we can just tweak that here inside of our properties. Okay, so again, let's see if this works. If not, we're gonna work on it together. Okay, so we have our text. This is our text opacity, which I don't really like the order at which I save this, because this right here I can't really touch. This was that range selector, so I probably, if I was going to create a new one, I don't know if I would add that, but I want to change the text size. Okay, so all I need to do is pull this down, and now we've adjusted our text size. Okay, for some reason though, oh, here we go. Text goes here. So we're going to call this new space. Boom. It's dynamically updating that in real time, which is amazing. Okay, and now we've adjusted our text goes here to new space. All right, we can come in here and change the font. So again, like I said, I like to have different like line weights and line properties. So maybe I want this to be the bolded version of the font here. So I can come in here and I think that looks pretty cool. Okay, we can come in here and now box 1, we can change the color. Let's see, I think I messed some of this up though. Again, we're not perfect here.
To be honest, I found that people seem to learn more when we make a mistake, because then normally they'll make the same mistake and then they'll know how to fix it.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so let's go back. So there's a couple things that you can see that are a problem. We can't now change the color of the rectangles here of the boxes because I didn't actually drag them into that essential graphics window. It looks like I can't change the color of my font. I want to be able to do that. So let's just hop back into After Effects and let's adjust it and see what we got.
And I just want to mention, all of this is real time. You didn't even have to shut Premiere and open it. It's just doing it while you're.
Yep.
Like,
yeah.
Oh,
yeah. It's pretty wild. Pretty wild. Okay. I don't know what happened here to our.
The text?
Oh, it's because of our mask, I think. Let's see here. Get rid of our mask. Oh, I think that's what it was. I wrote text goes here.
Yeah,
So
when
we're gonna
you
come here.
went to your essential graphics, it edited itself when you updated its name.
There we go. Okay, so there we go. And now we just have to add our mask again. We're gonna come in here, boom, bada boom, and there's our mask. Okay.
So are you saying that even if you're not content with the MOGRT that you made, you're able to go back in and just edit it? You don't need to save a new one. You're actually able to overwrite?
That I'm not sure. I usually what I end up doing is going in and saving another one. I'm pretty sure there's a way to override it. If anyone knows that way, please let me know, because it would it would make my life a lot easier. What's happening here with our mask? This is real-time problem solving, guys. This is what we have to do here on Adobe Live. Okay.
I do love the thing. Okay, now I'm gonna help if there's anything else going on.
Please.
So before you didn't have the layer selected, I don't think. I can't quite remember, but I'm watching now. I was watching before, but I'm watching now. You might need to. You can pull it down a bit. That should be okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Welcome, Lion.
Cool. All right.
James
So let's.
That's how to make a customized MOGRT for Premiere via After Effects.
Okay. So we have everything already added to this, so I don't think we have to actually like start from scratch. I do want to get rid of range selector. Okay, this is going to be the text scale. All right. Again, like this is why it's important to one, know how to spell. That usually helps. And label things appropriately. Okay, so I don't really know if I want the opacity of the text to be my first sort of option here. I want the color. And so what I want to do is I want to go in here and I want to make sure I can find the color of my text, which for some reason, oh, here we go. I wonder if it's the fill and stroke.
Is it on? Oh,
let's see. Huh. Let's try that. I don't remember. All fill, all over stroke.
This is new.
If anyone in the chat knows this part of it, this is like, I was trying to find this earlier and I'm like, I know that the property, the fill property is a part of that text. And that's what we want to add. I'm just going to call this fill. Let's see. Maybe that'll work. We'll see. All right. So we have our text here and our boxes. We have the stroke color in here, but we don't actually have the box color. So let's change that. We're going to come down here and that was our stroke color. That was our first, issue. We want to take the fill color. Okay, so we took the stroke color, which is nice. We can affect that if we want, but I really just want the fill.
I have a question, James.
Yes, please.
It shouldn't have to be the case, but in After Effects, you know how you can add different things to a layer? If we went and added I'm sure maybe there is a fill layer in effects. Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Is that something that you might have to?
I don't know. Let's try that. Let's save it with this. And if it doesn't work, I think then that's probably a good solution. That's probably what we would need to do. Like add an actual fill effect. So this, because this fill effect is what we want on our text. So let's make sure we just add this for our box. So again, I took the stroke before. Here I want to take the fill color. So that's fill color. And now we can adjust those and the stroke. Okay, so I know that works. Our path size, good to go. And let's
Another question for you.
Yes.
So the order that you have the stuff in at the moment in the essential graphics, are you able to just click and drag them where they currently are, and you could move them in? Oh, you can. Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
So you can move them wherever you need. Again, it's like total preference of how you want to order them.
Okay. James, we got the answer. Uma Corn, just let us know. Yes, it's through Animate. So if we go to text, go into Animate, it should be underneath that option there.
Oh, fill color.
Yay! Come on, Uma.
There we go. Okay, perfect. There we go. Thank you.
And this is why we like the community.
Okay, so we're gonna call that animator. We're just gonna call this fill color. Oops. Thank you for that. I would have driven myself crazy, which we did not. All right, pull that back up. Great. So let's get rid of this because we know that's wrong. And we're gonna then drag that fill color to the top. Perfect. Okay. Now we're cranking. Thank you. Fill color. All right. So if anyone in the chat also knows if there's a way to override the MOGRT, if not, I'm basically just going to save this as like a version 2 for the sake of timing. So I'm going to go to name. We're going to go V2. Okay, text only. And everything else looks to be the same that we need it to be. Export motion graphics template, save it, of course. Okay, and we're gonna save it to that file and press OK. All right, and let's hop back into Premiere Pro. All right, and we are gonna delete this, go into our essential graphics, browse what we got. Here's our V2. Let's drag her in. Let's see how we do. Okay, so it looks exactly the same. Animation's all there. Let's change our text. So if I come in here to text, there we go. Now we can change the fill color. So we can use that dropper tool. We can come in here and change, you know, the fill on any of our style guide properties. I don't love that right now, but we can adjust any color we need at that point, which is really important. Okay, we can change our text. So new space, or let's say new year, new space. Okay, we're gonna change the scale, bring the scale up inside of that box. We're gonna change my line weight to a hollow bold, which I like there. This is the text scale like position here. I think one other thing I'd probably want to add is the position of that text,
I was
because then
wondering if you could.
I can then move it inside of that box. So again, if I was to go in here and I look at my text, the thing I don't have, I have scale, opacity. I do want to have the position. So I want to come in here to transform, and I want to actually make sure it's the text that's being
I do wonder, James, would
yeah.
you just be able to save with the same name and it would probably just update it there?
Let's try it. I think you're probably right. Let's just see if it would update it. Like just an override, basically like a replace of the MOGRT, right?
Right.
Okay, so text position. Save it. Let's export it. And let's go V2. Okay. See, I don't know if it did. Let's see, because it saved it, but it might just save it as. Oh, see,
it did. Just made a copy.
That's so annoying. If anybody from Adobe knows how to do that, I know there's got to be a way.
There must be.
Okay, so here's our position, right? So now we can actually move this text inside of our window, which makes me happier.
So much customization.
So much. Okay, new year. So again, like you can come in here, you can customize all this. I want to take these boxes. I want to change the fill color to something like my orange. Okay, so that looks pretty cool. Maybe I want to take this other box and I want to change the fill color to that color. You know, you can really just come in here and start to customize things to a point based on what you told you know, Premiere to include, what you told After Effects to include. Okay, so I'm gonna come in here again and just start playing around with what I got. All right, and then if I wanted to actually globally adjust the size of this, maybe I want to make this smaller. I'm not going to do that inside the essential graphics here. I'm going to come over here to my effect controls and I can adjust the scale, right? Like the whole scale of this. I can change the position of everything globally. So this is like the pre-comped version. I can take the opacity down. Maybe I want to come in here and adjust the opacity of the, see, you start to realize how many properties you want to add inside of Premiere, and then you have to go back and do it again. But you sort of get the idea of how easy it is to add those things. The one thing we just have to figure out is if you can update it dynamically and not have to save a new one each time. So if anyone in the chat knows that, I'm all ears.
Hopefully. I feel like in a few days or directly after the stream, it'll be like, oh, yeah,
exactly.
I know. That's always one of those situations.
Totally. Okay, so I know we only have like 20-ish minutes, something like that. So I think what I'd like to try to do is show a little bit about the media replacement function, which functions in the same way, and then sort of leave it open to any other questions if we run low on time.
Yes, please.
Alrighty.
And also welcome RB. James has just shown us something super incredible by making a motion graphic in After Effects, putting it into Premiere and having it still be customizable and actually changing the text in Premiere. It's wild. But James is going to show us one more thing. So
one more little thing. Okay, so again, we're talking about saving MOGRTs. This is a specific way to save a MOGRT file created in After Effects with the ability to change the media, replace it with another still, another piece of footage for your title inside of Premiere. So this is something that I just created before the stream, just kind of as a sample. Could be something that's used as like a little title background. Maybe this is lower thirds that you want to add. So the first thing I want to do is I want to open up my pre-comp here. And inside of my pre-comp is just this image. Okay, that's just a still of a little corner of my office here. And if we open up this project here, I have these text boxes doing some little cool animations. I have this bounding box, which is basically like a mask inside of that image. And then I have a stroke to go around it. And everything is parented. So you'll notice here when you parent a layer to another layer, you're essentially just telling After Effects, like, have this layer do what this layer is doing. They call it a pick whip. It's kind of a cool little name. I don't know why that's the name, but it is. All right. And the only thing I did differently here is this is the normal kind of blending mode. I essentially went in here and I just tried different blending modes. And this one ended up being like some sort of alpha stencil. So it allows me to blend the shape and the color of that shape, which is, if we go to the contents here, we can see our fill. That's the color of that shape. So that's why we're getting that like sepia tone sort of coming through there. Okay, so I want to drag these properties and I want to also drag the media in so we can create like a background that we can adjust in Premiere Pro. So let's do that right now. All right, so again, we're gonna go right here to our primary in Essential Graphics. We are on our media replacement project. That's important. You gotta make sure that that's what After Effects is looking at, or else you're gonna get very confused. You might click this one and then try to add the properties from this composition in here and nothing's gonna happen. So you gotta make sure that you are selected on the right one, in this case, our media replacement, all right?
Right.
Okay, so let's do the bounding box first. Okay, let's take the color.
David said, I'm just noticing pick whip is an AE thing.
Yes, yeah. It doesn't really exist anywhere else. I'm not entirely sure why, but it's a great tool. Okay, rectangle path. So this is the size of that rectangle. So we're gonna bring that in. This is the position of that rectangle. We're gonna bring that in. We're gonna learn from our mistakes and make sure we do the opacity of the fill. All right, we're gonna add a group. We're gonna call this shape. Okay, and we're gonna drag it all into the group again.
Okay, so this is similar to what we did before, except with a new project and making sure that we're actually in the right Essential Graphics composition.
Absolutely. Yep, exactly. Okay, so I don't really want to touch anything with the stroke on this one, so I'm gonna leave that as is, okay? I like this box stroke because maybe we want to change the color of that stroke. So if we come to contents, we go to our rectangle, we go to stroke, we're gonna take that color. Okay, that's the stroke color. Maybe I want to adjust the stroke width, the stroke opacity. What else do we want to adjust here? What else? Wow, there's a lot of stuff you can do. We'll leave it at that.
Too much choice.
Too much, and we'll change the size. We'll just adjust the size. Maybe we want that stroke to be bigger than the box it's around, and we're going to call this group stroke.
While James is doing the group, David said, I had to look that up just to convince myself about the pick whip because I couldn't believe it, but it seems like it's in my vocabulary since school. Does it sound like a sweet? Are we going back to food again? Because it sounds like a sweet to me.
It does. It kind of does, honestly. All right, so we're gonna drag this in. This, I don't know what it is. I'm gonna delete it. Half of our job as editors is honestly like organizing. I feel like so much of it is like just making sure you don't drive yourself crazy by the amount of layers you have.
It's true. Organizing, pipeline, making a template just to make your life easier. Exactly. Knowing the shortcuts because you don't want to spend 5 minutes on something you could do in 2.
Exactly. Okay, so we have our shape layers here. I'm going to solo supported properties. I'm going to take these shape layers and I'm going to go size of that shape, position of that shape. We're going to do color of that shape right down here and opacity of that shape. All right. And that's going to be shape 1. So I'm doing the exact same thing I've been doing, but I'm just, you sort of get better at what you want to adjust. And again, it's like there's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just a matter of what you feel like you want to go into Premiere with. And we're going to do the same thing for the second shape. And then we are going to do our media replacement so we can show how that works as well. All right.
So my question for you, James.
Yes.
As you probably have a main layout for what you like to use, but when you do make a new MOGRT, do you have a template written up of the things that you like, so you know that you can put it back in?
That's a good question. Not really. I feel like It's sort of, I just personally don't like to do too much with it. And if you're going to, then you might as well just like animate something fully inside of After Effects and export it as a, like an MP4, an MP4 or MOV animation.
Yeah.
But this is a little bit more, like I know the things I might want to adjust: color, size, position, those sorts of things are pretty basic. And that's kind of what I try to add. Okay, fill color and fill opacity. All right, so now we have those. We have our shape, our stroke, and this is our, let's go main shape. All right, and let's add the media. Okay, so now I think the only thing we need to do with this is, you can see I pre-composed my image replacement so that if I, wanted to do anything globally to this image, let's say maybe I wanted to take the opacity down here, T on the keyboard, I can change the opacity of the whole thing. But in this case, I'm going to open this up and all I have is a JPEG. So all you're going to actually do is solo supported property. Okay. And I'm going to just drag in the shape. All right. I'm going to name this media replacement. Okay. So now this is the poster frame. This is the shape we have in there. If I want to add any properties of that shape, or of that media, position, scale, rotation, all those things I can. But in this case, I just want to basically like swap it all. Okay. So I think we're going to leave that as is. And again, this is the big finger cross moment. Let's say we have everything saved in here that we want. We're going to export our motion graphic template. Okay. The same way we've been doing before. Let's actually change the name though. So Adobe Live title, media replacement example. Okay, and that's going to be our name. That's our thumbnail, our poster frame, and we're going to export this. And we're going to see if it works. Okay, we're saving it to the Adobe Live. Here we go. Into Premiere we go. All right, so I like that you're like sitting on edge. You're like, oh, is this going to work? I hope it works. I do too.
I'm ready.
Trust me. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way. And let's just add, it's going to look weird because we didn't really intend to make that for this specific video, but let's just see if it works. Okay, so we have our example right here. Again, nice thing of having this folder organized, I can just go right to it. I also have this searched for Adobe, and let's drag it in. All right. And okay, we can see that it's in here, but I actually want to bring it to a new composition that's 1920 by 1080. Let's just go okay. And let's just go here and we'll bring it in. Okay. Keep existing settings. Boom. And let's play back. All right. So it plays back. Everything looks good. We know it's playing back. Let's go to media replacement. All right, here we go. Let's see now if I can actually replace this background. Honestly, I haven't tried this on the stream yet. Okay. I'm going to go into some of my footage. I'm actually going to go into, let's say, a clip that I like that might work well as a background. Let's take this clip. We're going to go reveal in project. Here it is right there. That's our clip. Okay. And this is the in and out points of those clips. I am going to come in here and I'm going to just come in here and you'll notice if I hover, I can just drag the media on top of it. And now what we have is we have this media replaced with the clip that I had before. Okay. It did replace it. However, there's a couple things I think we're going to need to change about it. Scale to fill, scale to fit. It looks like that did it. Maybe. We can come in here and move this. Oh, there we go. So you can see it's a little laggy because that's a really big file. Big. Let's try something. Let's try a photo. How's that? But you can do footage. You absolutely can do footage here.
So this is an important note for anybody else doing this. If you're putting something in there, maybe make sure that the file is already edited, or maybe you can turn down how detailed it is to make it run faster.
Absolutely.
So instead of having it on full, turn it down to 25%.
Okay, so I just added a couple of JPEGs in here that I have, just some photos in the office. Let's just drag this one in and see what it does. Okay, perfect. So if I play this back, boom.
Wow.
Awesome. Okay, so is it a matter of just literally dragging and dropping. I bet you if we found another clip in here and we just took a little tiny part of it.
So you can actually trim and put the trim in there.
I think you can. Let's try it. So let's drag the video. Boom. Yeah. Wow. That is a blurry. That's a bad example, James. What are you doing here? Let's find a better one. Let's see here.
Annika said, absolutely love this stream. Thanks, James, for all the MOGRT tips.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so glad. I mean, most of it worked out, I think. Yeah, there we go. Man.
Oh
So
my God.
it's as simple as just dragging and replacing certain things. I think there is a bit of a learning curve when doing it to just feel confident enough to like save them and move them in there. But the idea of today's stream was really to, again, show you how to easily make these sort of custom graphics inside of Adobe After Effects and not feel intimidated by it, how to save them as MOGRTs, and then bring those MOGRTs into Premiere Pro and continue to customize them as we've done here. So,
which is
yeah.
perfect for today's generation because everything really revolves us having these little bits and bobs on our videos and stuff. And this will make the workflow so much quicker, so you have more time to spend making a different video rather than spending lots of hours on the same one. David said, same, I need to get into essential graphics. Finally, Uma said, boom, Pouchy just joined at the very end of the stream. Pouchy said, hi, I want to become very good in graphic designs. Well, you're in the right place. Make sure that you follow James Bonanno for more amazing tips with Premiere and After Effects and these little ways that you can actually merge them together. Hosin said, respect. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And as we head on out, make sure you stay tuned to break through your art block with the new episode of Power Prompts, hosted by Cody Bear. This month's theme is February, and this week's prompt is coffee supplies.
Oh, so sweet.
Thank you very much for being here with us, James.
Thank you so much, Ray. It was a pleasure. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I can't wait to do it again. So thank you, everyone.